Once upon a time, there was a boy named Luke. And in Luke's bedroom, he had a nightstand. And on top of that nightstand, there was a lamp. It looked just like any other lamp. But one night, Luke discovered there was something different about this one. It had been a long day, and Luke was tired, so he laid down in his bed, and he turned out the light. He sat there for a while, and for some reason, he started thinking about how much he wished he had a beanbag in his room. And after a while, Luke realized he couldn't sleep, and he had to go to the bathroom, so he reached out and turned on the light and started to crawl out of bed. But as soon as his feet touched the floor, he saw that there was a beanbag sitting right in the corner. Well, this was strange. He'd never even seen this beanbag before, but it looked exactly like the one he was imagining in his head. Did Mom put this there? It must be. So Luke went to the bathroom and he went potty, and then he crawled back into bed and turned out the light again. And then he started thinking about airplanes and how much he loved the idea of flying. Luke really liked paper airplanes, and he always wanted a great big airplane that he could throw across his backyard. And for some reason, Luke felt like he needed to turn on his light again, so he reached out and he turned on the light again, and right in the middle of his bedroom was an airplane just like the one he was thinking about. Where did this thing come from? He was just thinking about it, and then all of a sudden it magically appeared when he turned the light back on. That's when Luke started to realize something fishy was going on here. He turned out the light again, and he started thinking about his dog, and he wished his dog could be in the room with him. And then he thought, wonder what's going to happen when I turn my light on. He reached out, turned on the lamp, and Luke's dog was sitting there right on his bed, and he started licking Luke's face. What on earth is going on? Okay, now this is getting crazy. Luke had to go tell his sister. So he ran into his sister's room and said, Nora, come in here. You gotta see this. Nora said, what, Luke? I'm trying to sleep. But Luke said, really, Nora, you have to see this. Fine, Nora said, and she stumbled out of bed and into Luke's room. What is it, Luke? Why am I here? Luke said, okay, Nope, I'm going to turn out this light, and when I do, you and I both need to think of something really fun. Are you ready? Okay, Nora said. So Luke turned off the light, and they both thought about how much they wished it was summertime and that they could both be at their favorite playground. And when Luke turned on his light, they were both shocked to see that not only were they not standing in Luke's room anymore, they were standing in the middle of their favorite playground, and it was a beautiful summer day. Nora said, what? What just happened, Luke? How did we get here? I don't know, Nora. It's my lamp. It's magical. So they both laughed and ran all over the playground and played for a while, but then they started to get tired and thirsty. Nora said, okay, Luke, so how do we get back home and get a drink of water? Luke looked around, and he didn't see where his lamp was. His lamp was gone. Without his lamp, how are they supposed to get back home? My lamp is gone, Nob. You mean we're stuck out here? Nora said. Luke and Nora looked at each other, and they said at the same time, uh-oh. And just then, they both started to hear a sound coming from the woods next to the playground. And it was hard to be sure, but they both thought it sounded kind of like something was rumbling, almost like thunder off in the distance. Was there a storm coming? And then Luke put his hand to the ground, and he could feel the ground shaking. It was starting to shake more, and the sound was starting to get louder. And then, with almost no warning at all, they looked up and saw a giant stampede of deer running straight at them. What were all these hundreds of deer doing running through the playground? They had never seen anything like this before. They didn't know what was going on, but if they wanted to stay alive and not get trampled, they had to run now. So they ran and they ran as fast as they could, but the deer were faster. They started to run past Luke and Nora, and they almost started stepping on Luke and Nora. And right when they were about to be run over, Luke grabbed one of the deer and jumped up onto its back, and then he reached out for Nora's hand and pulled her aboard. They both held on as tightly as they could, and after a few minutes of riding on the back of this deer in the middle of a stampede, they looked around and started to recognize where they were. It looked like the deer were running right into Luke and Nora's neighborhood. It might just be okay after all, because the deer were running right back to their house. As soon as they ran past their front yard, Luke and Nora just jumped right off the deer and ran up to their house and ran back inside. And as soon as they ran inside, they saw their mom and dad waiting in the kitchen. They both said, "Mom, Dad, you won't believe what just happened." And they explained the whole story. And Mom and Dad said, "Wow, that's so great, you guys. Man, that sure is cool. Good for you." Luke and Nora could tell their parents didn't really believe what just happened. And who could blame them? After all, it was unbelievable what just happened. So they both ran back up into Luke's room again and saw the lamp sitting right where they had left it. Luke said, "Where should we go now, Nora?" Nora said, "I don't know, Luke. Maybe we shouldn't play with that anymore. We don't want to get stuck anywhere else, do we?" "Yeah, maybe we shouldn't," Luke said. "But then again, maybe we should." And as Luke reached out to turn off his lamp, Nora screamed, "No!" But it was too late. Luke had already turned off the lamp. And as soon as he turned his lamp back on, the two children couldn't believe where they were. But that's a story for another day.